Welcome to the Yoshi Football Show. This is John Johnston, founder of CornNation.com. We're here with Yoshi Hardrick, former Nebraska offensive lineman and current Canadian Football League star. I actually got that one right this time.
No, there we go.
So it's a good start. We're here. We're going to talk about the 2010 Nebraska football season. Look at the past. It was Nebraska's last season in the Big 12. And it was, Bo Pelini was the head coach, Sean Watson, offensive coordinator, and Barney Cotton was your offensive line coach.
And
so
yeah.
Where do you want to start? We tried this once before, just for people out there. We tried this once before, and the power blew out in my house part of the way through it. So we're starting over and trying again. Where do you want to start in the 2015 or 2010 season? At the beginning?
Yeah, you can start at the beginning. What made me want to come to Nebraska from the 2009 season? So we can just start with. We can start with Nebraska being on TV in the 2009, getting a lot of exposure, being in a championship game, Texas getting 1 second back on the clock. And I can just remember sitting in my dorms in junior college and I want to go play in the Big 12 championship with Nebraska. Just seeing Sue throw Colt McCoy around, if Nebraska was recruiting you was itching watching that game. So that's what brought us into the 2010 season. And when I got here from junior college, it was 0-0-1 on every workout. It was 0-0-1 all through the locker room. It was 0-0-1 on all our handouts for our install. The point was to make sure we was ready to play an extra overtime or that extra second. I can vividly see workouts when we think we're done, we're so happy, and they'll just scream out overtime, put 0-0-1 on the clock, and that happened so many times, and that was the mindset to finish. And that 09 season was in the back of the minds.
So you came to Nebraska because you wanted to play in a championship, and you did, but we'll get to that. The season starts out pretty well. Western Kentucky, you beat them up 49-10. Idaho, 38-17. You played in both of those games. You were not the starter, though.
Yes.
But talk about the process. We're all about the process right now.
Oh, yeah. Talk about the process. Yeah. When I first got to Nebraska, it was a little shaky. I came in with a lot of hype, and I didn't start right away. So I kind of didn't trust the coaches like I should have, but it never crossed my mind to leave. But finally, the first game got here. I've been here since January, and finally the first game's here. I didn't start the first game, but I played a lot. I was nervous. I had a lot of pancakes. I was like, oh, this college football isn't so bad. Second game comes around. We got Idaho. Same thing as West Kentucky. I play a lot. Get in there and get some pancakes. I'm feeling good. Washington comes, our first big game on TV, and that's when reality sunk in that I was a backup because I don't think I got in until the second or the third quarter, and we was up by a lot then. And, we
crushed Washington 56-21. It was a glorious game.
Yeah, it was 56-21. Just me being a country boy, I was just loving everything that I saw in Washington. I could just remember finally getting on the field and being in awe about the water you could see in the boats. People sitting in the boats watching the game. You could see boats from the 50-yard line, people sitting out there watching and having a party, having Washington flags on. Felt good to go in there, bust their party up. And Taylor Martinez had a great game. I can just see it now. He was going down the sideline, holding the ball up. The Washington helmets was in all the highlights, and we were just scoring over and over. So we just kept it going. We went to San Diego State, yeah. And I'm finally back playing a lot again. We're playing a smaller school. It feels good to go out there and slam some people around. South Dakota State, yeah, it felt good. That game was closer than I thought, 17-3. But I can look at my highlight tape, and I have a lot of plays from that game. But then we get to Big 12 play, and that's when it finally sunk in for me at Kansas State that I was a backup, and it was a guy better than me, and we were subbing a lot in those smaller games. We finally got to Big 12 play, And Jeremiah got the call. He kept the call. I think I didn't get in the Kansas State game until the second half, and we beat them 48-13. And Jeremiah was a redshirt freshman. So after being 10 years removed, it was so smart of the coaches. They going with this redshirt freshman to let him get these reps. Like, if I'm not the starter, he's the starter. He's a redshirt freshman. Yeah, they're going to give him the extra reps. When we got up big in those games, that's when I finally got in. So move on to Texas. We're pumped up. Okay.
You said earlier that you didn't trust your coaches. Tell me more about that. I mean, I think you showed up and you thought, I'm the guy, right?
That's what
I
it was.
should be the starter. I'm big man on campus kind of thing.
Yeah.
Tell us about, well, I was going to say the process again, but what does that mean? You didn't trust your coaches, and what was it like showing up thinking you're the guy and suddenly discovering, the realization you're not the guy?
Yeah, it was nothing the coaches did that I didn't trust. It was me feeding into all the hype, me reading in all the Husker extras or all the Lincoln Journal stars coming in. It was me going to Rivals and Scout.com every day. Like, before I even started competing for the job, I was already reading that I wanted. So it was basically nothing they did. It was just a 19-year-old Yoshi thinking everything he's reading, they know what they're talking about, but they're not inside the walls. I haven't took one practice. I haven't saw the playbook yet. So it was all up top for me. It was nothing the coaches did, but just trusting
you were supposed to mention cornnation.com in there.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I stayed on you guys' page also. I was on Corn Nation. Corn Nation gave me some love in college. I probably got some flack from you guys also, but I used to love going to Corn Nation, going into the comments or going into the forums, searching my name. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and lie. I used to go to Corn Nation, hit the search, go in the forums, see
really?
You can see wherever your name came up, and I was a college kid doing that. So yeah. I got a sweet picture from Iowa from Corn Nation, so thank you guys.
Wow. Okay. Texas. Or wait a minute. Should we talk more about Barney Cotton as an offensive line coach? I mean, what?
Yeah, we can. I can get.
Barney Cotton. In some ways, Barney Cotton has. I'm not sure what his reputation amongst fans is. I think that he was a good football coach, but let's face it. 98% of us wouldn't know offensive line coaching or offensive line play. I mean, we watch it, but we know when you run over people and we know when the yardage is there, but we don't know a lot about technique or things like that. So tell us about Barney Cotton as an offensive line coach.
Barney Cotton as offensive line coach, it was all new to me. I was from the South. I grew up in Mississippi. All my coaches were from the same hometown as me. I went to Kansas and my coaches were from Alabama. So all I knew was like really the Southern hospitality or really being around nothing but Southern people as my coach. And Barney Cotton was about as Midwestern as it get. He was old school. He was hard work. He was grinding. He was blue collar type guy. And I don't know. He was just, he actually knew what he was talking about. He did it before. He took the same steps we did. He's been in the footsteps. He was a Husker. And when I got there, I didn't trust that a lot of what he was saying because I wasn't starting. It was nothing he did. But the things that stood out to me, when I went to my pro day, I went to my senior bowl that I played in, I went to train for the draft, all the techniques they was teaching me, Coach Cotton had already taught me. So it was like he really knew what he was talking about. He was setting us up for he preached the technique. He preached finish. It was all the small things he was teaching the why. So he was a great coach. I don't know how people looked at him from the outside, but we probably didn't have a lot of old linemen drafted. But from when Coach Cotton was here, he had a lot of guys go to the NFL. Like I'm not looking on my Wikipedia, but I can just thank me, Marcel, Ricky Jones, Keith Williams, Brent Qualley, Jeremiah Searles. Them just for my 2 years there, and I probably missed some guys.
Okay, should we go on to Texas? I mean,
yeah,
Texas,
we can go on.
Texas gets that second back on the clock the year before in the Big 12 championship game. Mac Brown with that son of a. Anyway, Texas is our nemesis. They just constantly have our number. we're going into this game. We're ranked 5th in the nation. I mean, this has got to be one of the bigger games. Well, it's the biggest game since the previous season against Texas. What's leading up to the game? You just arrived at Nebraska, and it's really your first season. Did you get the anger and the hatred that we have for the Texas Longhorns?
Yes, when they put the 1 second back on the clock, I was gonna hate Texas for the rest of my life regardless. I wasn't even committed yet, but just from being here, and it was something I learned when I first got in, the rivalries, who we hate, how do we represent Nebraska, just from Niles and Pierre Paul or the homegrown Austin Cassidy's. Like, we had so much senior red shirts of 4 or 5 year guys just drilling the history in us and drilling what this means. And like you say, drilling the process in us. A lot of these guys are seniors and seniors red shirt who didn't play until they was juniors, seniors, and senior red shirt. So they've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly, and they've hated these teams for 5 years. And if you're from Nebraska, you've been hating your entire life. So that Texas week, we talked about it all week. We finally get them back. Don't feed into the hype that they're not good this year. We got them at our home turf. And I'm just going to say we laid an egg. We laid an egg. We dropped 2 to 3 touchdowns. They were the first team to stop Taylor Martinez. They had a game plan for Taylor. Every team was putting 1 player on Taylor. Texas put 2 players on Taylor, 1 front side, 1 back side. They made us have to throw, and the blueprint was out how to stop Nebraska's offense after Texas beat us that year. And yeah, man, I can just see us winning that game. I see a couple passes just going right through our hands, and just from guys I love, and I wouldn't call out.
What is it like for a team to have a game that is that enormous? I mean, the entire nation's watching. You know, me, a guy running, some creepy old guy running a website. You know, for me, it's, even I got a fair amount of abuse from people, but everybody's like, ha, 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 Nebraska can't beat Texas, and they just enjoy the hell out of it. But for you guys on a team, I mean, it's different. You have to regroup. You have to kind of put it behind you. You have to go on. You have to do, you still got a whole front season in front of you.
Yeah.
What's that like to try to recover from that?
For me, it was hard because it was so emotionally draining. It was so much of that's all they talked about from my first day in the building, and it's finally here. Like, maybe we had blew our load before the game. Like, we've talked about this for so long, worked so hard for. I can't see practice, so I can't say, but I'm imagining we went pretty hard in practice like we should. But like it drains, it takes a lot out of you to put so much in a game and you lose it, and you lose at home, and it was winnable. So it was like, we're just lucky we had, I want to say 20-some seniors that year, man. We had the great leadership, and we went into Oklahoma State the next game, and we let it out on Oklahoma State. I wish we would have did it on Texas.
You dropped to number 14 in that game. It was number 17 Oklahoma State. We win 51-41, which is a lot of points. The following week, now Jeremiah Searles got injured. He was the starter in your position, right?
Yeah, Oklahoma State was literally my first game, really. Oklahoma State, Jeremiah got hurt the first drive of the game. And it's like, it's my turn. It was my turn. It was my call. I was the next guy up. I wasn't got to wait till the second or the third quarter, and I was in there with the big boys. And I played well, and I earned some more playing time. And after that Oklahoma State game, it was every other series or every 2 series I was playing, and it was a routine. I knew I was going to play early. I had to stay warm. I didn't have to wait out to the second half. So the Oklahoma State game, I hate that Jeremiah got hurt that first series, but I'm glad I got a chance to showcase that I was ready and I can play and that we can run the same offense with me in.
Then we get Missouri. Missouri's 7th. We're still 14th. And we beat Missouri 31-17.
One of the most fun I've ever had playing in a football game, in Missouri game.
Why is that?
We ran crazy that game. I think Roy ran for 300 or 400 yards. And we just ran crazy. I don't think I took a pass set all game. But we obviously passed the ball, but that's just the mindset we was in. We ran the ball. I can remember giving out awards after the game. So many people had so many pancakes. Like it felt like while I came to Nebraska, it felt like the O-line made us win that game. Obviously, Roy had probably 3 or 4 touchdowns. He didn't get touched, and it was probably 50 yards long.
Yeah. I was at that game. It was, Missouri, Missouri at that time, that's marked as a rivalry game. But for years, I didn't know Missouri was a rival because we used to beat the snot out of them. Then all of a sudden they start getting uppity, and it was really nice to just beat the snot out of them and, beat them back down into, well, honestly, it's the last year in the Big 12.
Yeah.
You had to say goodbye properly to these teams, right?
It did, and we talked about that a lot. You bring back so many memories. It was like it's our last year in the Big 12. They hate us so much. Let's give them more reason to hate us. That was just the mindset and those things that was talked about, and you fed off that, man. It was just fun going to classes with people who kept up with football, and we were like normal people in class that just played football. Like we literally sat in class and we would just talk to people about, like me and you're talking, this is how me and students used to talk in class. Like, so anytime a big game came around, you're talking way more in class. You're hearing a lot more. The professors is letting us know, good, go this weekend, have a great game, Huskers. Like, it's talked about. You can feel it on campus. You can see it, man. It's just all the bells and whistles of going to a Power 5 school. I got that at Nebraska, and that it was just all those big games, man. I got that every game. It don't matter who we play. South Dakota State, we got that, man. It was just week to week, man.
So we get Iowa State next. We take it. We win 31-30 in overtime.
Oh my God!
What's the deal with that game?
That Iowa State game. I think is that the game Cody Green started. Taylor Martinez. I don't think Taylor Martinez played that game. I don't know for sure.
You're right. Yeah.
I think that was Cody Green's first start, and we went to Iowa State. It was the first time I've ever been to Iowa in my life. And it was just a different feel when we got there. Yeah, it was a different feel when we got there. It felt like we was in a grimy spot. You was in the basement about to have a fight. It was like, you're not going to come here with an easy win. That was just a mindset, or just what it felt like getting off the bus. Like, all right, this is a blue-collar place. This is small town Ames. They have a lot of pride about this, and you're not going to come here and just run over us. And I felt that entire game. It felt like they was a little brother. They just hit back all game. I can't recall what happened in that game. I think Cody Green started that game, and we caught that interception at overtime with Eric Hagg, and it was one of the happiest days of my Husker career, man. We all jumped on Eric Hagg in the end zone. He was all crying because he couldn't breathe. He was mad at everybody. We were so excited that we won, and Eric Hagg was so mad. I just can remember going to the locker room. He was finally calmed down. He was holding the ball up like, yeah, we did it, but when we all jumped on him on the field, it wasn't a lot of fun, but we was just so excited. We couldn't believe they scored and went for 2. Like, they went for the win. So it was like, it was a high, a low, then it was, interception. Oh, we won. Let's go.
All right, you get Kansas next, and we win 20-3, or you win. I never know if I'm supposed to say we. I say we because I'm a Nebraska alum.
It's we.
When you lose, it's you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Kansas, they only score 3 points. But here's the thing about Iowa State and Kansas. I mean, these are two teams. That year, we played Iowa State for the 105th time, and Kansas was the longest consecutive streak of two teams playing, again, like 105 times. Did any of that even sit with you? I mean, did the idea that these rivalries or these longtime opponents were going to go away? I mean, was that even an issue? Was it talked about? Did anybody care on the team?
Yeah, people, the captains and the guys who was a lot older, they always talked about this our last time playing them. Let's put it on them. Let's go out of the Big 12 the right way. And just like I told you earlier, I was a guy who stayed on Coronation. I was a guy who stayed in scouting rivals. So, yeah, I wasn't missing anything. I was subscribed to everything. I was getting all the papers. Like, I felt all the hype. Like, it just felt it felt like a movie to me. Like when I played the video game, and you can go look at the newspaper on the video game every week for your team. It just felt like that for me. Like I was really living like a dream. Like I can wake up and read about the guys that I'm in the locker room with. It's like 4 or 5 different sources. It was just nonstop. So no matter how big or small the game was, you guys are going to find the good stuff to put out about it. How many times we've played them. If this is the 100th time, if 2 brothers are playing against each other, or a coach was there that's here now, or we have a coach, like you guys are going to find it. So we always read about it. It probably wasn't talked about as a group, but as a little circles, we all share the same books. We all send each other the same texts. So if we find something, we like share it amongst the group.
Okay. The Texas A&M game.
Oh my God.
We're in the Big Ten now, and we have this thing this year where, Nebraska early in the season tried to play an out-of-conference opponent, Tennessee, Chattanooga, and the Big Ten. Kevin Warren made the statement, they're not going to be in the Big Ten and play an out-of-conference opponent, and people exploded with Nebraska wants to leave the Big Ten, and I got crap from some people about you guys are paranoid that the Big Ten is out to get you. And I guess my response to them is this Texas A&M game, we were called for 16 penalties. They got 2 penalties. My brother Jim was at College Station for this game, and he remarked to me after that game that even the Aggie fans around him were asking him what the hell is going on with the officials. So what was going on during that game? I mean, that was the game where Bo Pelini yelled at Taylor Martinez on the sideline. Tony Eddy grabbed Ben Cotton in a really nasty place, and Ben Cotton tried to kick him to defend himself and got called for a personal foul penalty. I mean, did the officials say anything to you guys on the field? What was your reaction to that game, I guess, at the time on the field?
At the time on the field, when the game first started, I'll never forget this Texas A&M game because it was the first time I saw so many people in service uniforms, seen so many towels. I didn't know if the earth was moving or the ground was moving. I had Von Miller in front of me, so it was like, I don't need to worry about nothing. I need to worry about Von Miller. Then there was so much going on, but when the game first started, it's like, all right, we need to play a little cleaner. But by the time the second game came around, it was like the guys in the huddle like, all right, we're playing against the refs and Texas A&M. We need to be on our things. We need to make sure we're sharp. And we got a couple no pass interference call on receivers deep down the field. I can remember Brandon Kenny in the end zone about to get ready to catch one, and a guy just knocks him all off his route, and there was no flag. And what was the game? 6-9, 9-6, man.
9-6, yeah.
Oh man, yeah. It just didn't feel like we was gonna leave College Station with a win. No matter what we did, we kept it close. It was a hard physical game. Tony Eddy, I ended up training with him for the draft together, and he's ended up grabbing Ben Cotton. Taylor and Bo get at it on the sideline. I think Taylor called his dad when we was in the locker room or something like that, and that came from that. Oh man, it was just they weren't gonna let us leave College Station with a win in the last time playing them. That's what it felt like. And by the time the third or fourth quarter came around, you can hear guys starting to whisper like the refs might be out to get us or whatever. Just keep playing hard, and then just like you said, never stop. They only had 2 penalties. We had like 16, 19, something like that. Yeah,
it was. I still remember that. Just how I'm watching a TV at home, and you're just like, what the hell is this? This is like a parting gift from Texas A&M. I guess that's how the Big 12 officials decided to handle that game. I mean, at that time, Texas A&M was 18th. We had worked ourselves back up to number 9. And, there's such, I don't know. There's so many things you could say about that game that.
It's just, I get a bad feeling now. I got the same hate for Texas and A&M that I do for Texas. I can say that from that game. And I don't know. I don't even like the word agriculture anymore. I don't think because of Texas A&M. But I'm not gonna say that. But yeah, that Texas A&M game didn't sit well with me. It was a big eye opener for me because I had played the entire season, and every DN I had went against, Pierre Allen was better than at the time. So when I played Von Miller, it was the first guy that was on Pierre level or better. And I was like, I'm away. We don't have a snap count because it's so loud here. You have all these people in service uniform moving, and Von Miller was literally a cat. I had never seen a cat before. He was a cat in a uniform. I used to get out of my stance. He'd be here, he'd be here, he'd be here, then he was gone. It was so impressive. Like, that's funny. I actually ended up training with him and Tony Gerard Eddy after I finally got to train for the draft. And we talked so much about this game, and I was just telling Von, like, as a junior, because he was already 1 year pro at the time, as a junior, he had me in a place I had never been in a football game. I was doubting myself. I was down, do I even want to play in games this big? Am I made for games this big? Like, is this what every game going to be like in the NFL? Or, like, if this is what I'm looking forward to? Like, I didn't know if I wanted to do that or not anymore. I just had to play in Von for one game. I didn't know if I wanted to block elite defensive ends anymore. So I just gave him all the love. I told him he got me prepared for, like, what I was going to see. Because when we went to the Big Ten, it was a lot different. Every DN looked like Joey Bosa or 6'4", 280. Von Miller was probably 6'3", 240, and just a cat around the edge.
Well, we're going to get to the 2011 season, your first season of the Big Ten, in another show, right?
Okay. Yes, sir.
All right. Texas A&M, we'll leave that behind. We go I got one more question about that. Again, how long did it take people to get over that? I mean, I wanted to drive down to Texas A&M and set things on fire, but that's kind of illegal. But, you have to get ready for Colorado next. And you just went through a game that had to be, again, emotionally draining and really tough because you did have to play against the officials. Yeah.
I probably was a little different from other people. It was, it kind of shook me a little bit. I was kind of like, I wasn't as good as I thought it was. I already wasn't a starter. And I was seeing all these guys I had saw Von all year. He probably already had 18 sacks before they played us. And I had in the back of my mind, I was like, have I been exposed? Is every team going to come at me like this? Or can I really do this? Am I going to play guard next year? Like, I was in my head for the rest of the season because at the end of the game, I don't know if it was for the game winner or the play before the game winner. Like, Von beat me for a sack late in that game, and I haven't got beat for a sack yet all season. And it was my first sack given up, and it was like I didn't even touch him. It was like he came up, I seen him. He was inside. I thought he was on the ground. I jumped on the ground, and he spit around, and I just seen Taylor getting hit. I was like, he was just on the ground. I jumped on top of him, and he spent out right before I jumped out, and it was like, I saw that over and over. I probably saw that in the bowl game in Washington. That's how bad it was for me. But the team might have got over it. But it stung me. I'm going to let you know now. It stung me.
Wow. Is cat a term that's used by offensive tackles to describe a guy they're blocking, or?
Sometimes, like if your O-line coach said you have a cat on the edge this weekend, there's things you can't coach. He's going to be like, don't watch his head. You got to eliminate him from being a cat. So you got to go out there and try to make him run you over. Do whatever you got to do to make him get the cat out. Like, don't go out there and try to dance with him. He's a cat. You won't touch him. It's one of those things. If you got to, like, where I'm from in Canada, if your coach tell you he's a cat, you do whatever you do to try to expose your chest to make him run into you. Like, you don't need to be a cat. Like, I'm open, come hit me. Like, so it's just one of those things that we use in our O-line room in Winnipeg. Like, if he's a cat. So I don't know. We didn't hear that in college or anything, but we say that in Winnipeg now.
All right. So we beat up Colorado 45-17, and you now have Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship game. It's not Texas, but it is the Sooners, and there's God knows there's a long history with Oklahoma. And
yes.
We get out to a 17-0 lead, and we lose 23-20. Dude.
Yes.
This is why you came to Nebraska.
This is why I came to Nebraska. This is why I came to play in the Cowboys Stadium. It was just awesome. Everything up until after halftime was just like right out of a book. Why I came to Nebraska. We're in the Big 12 championship. We're up 17-0, and our world goes upside down. And I don't even know where to start at. I don't even remember them scoring 23 points. I just remember we was up 17-0, and at the end of the game, they had more. And that's how it felt like that. It was just such a roller coaster. It was like we were so high to being back in the game. We're getting even higher. We're up 17-0. They're starting to come back. Oh, I think Pierre Allen got a sack fumble. Well, we're going to be all right. Then it just went that way, and then the game was over. So I just remember that game was an emotional roller coaster. All we had was in the Cowboy Stadium. We had all the big lights, and we couldn't finish it out. And I started reading in the media that Bo couldn't win big games. And I'm like, man, is this true? We losing all the big games? I'm reading it in the media and all this. And, yeah, it just didn't sit well with me, man. I don't think we won a big one when I was there in 2 years, unless you count, like, the Missouri number 7. But they were 7 when we was 14. It didn't feel like they were the 7th team in the nation.
Nice shot at Mizzou.
Yeah.
Okay, so we get Washington again in the Holiday Bowl. I mean, when you coming off the loss of the Big 12 championship, again, that's the whole reason why your year was there. You have to go play the same team that you smoked earlier in the Holiday Bowl. It's San Diego, which I imagine has to be an incredible trip. But what were your thoughts about having to play Washington again?
I'm just going to tell you, from my group that I hung with, not the entire team, just the guys I hung with, my circle, it was comedy. We was like, we couldn't believe we already had beat these guys. We're going to San Diego. I think that was the second year in a row, or the first. I think that was the second year in a row we went to the Holiday Bowl. So all the guys were talking about all the things they did last year, how much fun they had. They went out there and partied and beat Arizona. So they know the recipe to going out there and partying and winning. And we already had beat Washington so bad. So, like, I was a kid who had never been to California before. They took a country boy like me to SeaWorld, and I was like, I don't even care about football out here anymore. Like, I'm going to SeaWorld. I was at is it called the Gaslight District in San Diego? It's something like that, man. Like, I just remember making interviews at SeaWorld, just living my best time. We practiced for like an hour in the morning, and we're free the rest of the day, just going throughout the city. Then it was like, oh, we're in the game, and these people did not come to SeaWorld. They did not come to party. They came to play us again. And I think that was the biggest difference in the game. They came out, I'll never forget, they had all black uniforms on. I was like, it was something different about the game. We went and beat them so bad. You can just tell we was warming up like, yeah, we about to do it to y'all again. They didn't say anything. You kind of like felt it. Oh, it's on out here. But we're just us being like the 19 and 20-year-old. We was cocky. Like, we already beat you guys 56-21. Like, we got to play you guys again. We're thinking we're getting punished, so we'll just beat you guys again. And that did not happen. I think Jake Locker had a day and ended up going first round after that.
When you walk on a field, all right, there's a certain feeling in the air, right?
Every game, and you know it every game. It's a certain feeling.
Some I imagine some games you know that you're going to destroy the other guys. You're going to kill them.
Yep.
So in this game, you had that attitude until they didn't say anything to you and they weren't talking. They didn't say, or you didn't. I guess here's what I'm asking. How does the attitude in a game change does it change throughout it? When you walk onto the field and you think, oh my God, we're going to get killed. Is there anything that you can grab onto to change that? Swing momentum or swing how the team feels about being in a game like that?
Yeah, I never get that. I never get that feeling that we're about to get killed in this game or smashed. You can get the feeling walking around like, oh, guys don't have energy today, or guys are walking through the motion, think we're just going to win this game, and you try to find something that'll get you going. You have to get the argument with one of your players, or play something to get the guys going, like a song that you've seen in the locker room to get everyone going. You try to do something. You can feel in those big games, you don't have to say anything. It's guys with tears coming out their eye. It's guys who are shaking, like in the locker room, waiting on the chains to be let off. Then you can tell some games you walk in the locker room, guys are probably playing cards and rolling dice, and it's just like, oh, it's game day. We got the game day feel, but it doesn't feel like that razor-eyed focus. So you can feel when there's a different vibe in the game. It's never like you're gonna lose, but it's like if we don't lock in like we usually lock in, this could go another way. And you kind of felt that. So you feel that. You don't feel like we're gonna lose. You feel like if we don't show up, you will lose.
So Nebraska finishes 10-4 on this season. Bo Pelini keeps earning his, how people would spell Bo Pelini with 4 L's.
Yeah.
He always had 4 losses, the cute things media does to jab at people all the time. You finished number 19th in the coaches poll, number 20th in the AP. When you look back on the 2010 season, I mean, you had a shot at a Big 12 title, and it's the last year. I mean, what did you think about the season?
Overall, what I think about the season after just going over it with you again and having looked at it in so long, how close we were to being awesome, man. And just like you see those 4 losses and you think about not a shot, just, man, we had a shot, man. Texas, we lost by 7 points. Texas A&M, we lost by 3. Oklahoma, we lost by 3. Bowl game, we lost by 12. Like, we're not even talking playing in that bowl game. If we beat Texas and we beat Texas A&M, like, just looking back on it, man, we lost 3 or 4 games by a total of 14 or so points. And it's like how close we were and how far we off we were also when I think about we were so one-dimensional with the run game and it worked for us, and the defense was so great, man. We was led by Gomes, Pierre Allen, Levante, Prince, Eric Hagg. I don't know, man. I can go on and on. Crick was still there. Like, we had such a good team that probably won't get the credit it deserves because we lost 4 games.
Wow. Hey, that's probably right. I guess honestly, right now we'd look at this season as a really we'd love to go 10-4 right now.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you want to say about the 2010 football season before we wrap it up that we haven't discussed? Anything that is in your notes? Because I know you make notes.
Oh, let me see. Basically, how it went that game, the Texas, how we looked at the Texas, the Oklahoma notes, the Texas A&M game notes, bowl game notes, playing for Coach Cotton, playing for Bo. Basically, we hit everything that I wanted to talk about. It was fun. It was fun to relive it, man. I can actually I feel horrible talking about those losses, man, but I can remember beating the Minnesotas and those, winning that Iowa State game, and yeah, man, that was a fun season, man. It didn't go the way we wanted to, but hey, we beat Oklahoma State, who was 17. We beat Missouri, who was 7, and we lost to number 10 and lost to number 18.
Yeah, it'd be really nice to have that back again now. I guess, that's kind of it. Except for one more thing. Does this ever come up with people just in casual conversation, the 2010 football season?
The thing is, people don't look at it as the 2010 football season. It's called the last year in the Big 12. So when I talk to people and they be like, the last year in the Big 12, I'll be like, yeah, I was there. People always say, do you remember the last year in the Big 12? And I'm like, yeah, that's funny. That's when I was there. Or people talk about the first year in the Big 10. So people don't bring up 2010, 2011. People always ask me a question about how was the Big 10 and Big 12. And I was like, I actually played 2 years, one in both. So it's always fun to talk about that and bring that up.
All right. Well, you know what? Next time we're going to get into the first year in the Big 10 then. And hopefully we'll talk about changes and what it was like to, I guess, cover new ground.
Yeah, and we changed our offense a little bit also. that was a lot of fun. Also, we went from Watson to Tim Beck.
All right. This has been the Yoshi Football Show. I would like you guys to leave us some feedback about things you'd like to hear from Yoshi or questions you have. I mean, he plays football and you don't. So leave us some comments either on YouTube or the Coordination website. And thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves and go Big Red.
Go Big Red.